Well, let's get some more analysis, and we can speak now to Hendro Munsterman, who is a journalist and theologian who joins us from the Vatican. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Some people are describing this synod as being historical. Would you say that's an exaggeration?
No, I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. What happens here is that for the first time in history, a synod that until now was a synod where bishops, church leaders meet and decide for the other people. For the first time, the Pope Francis turns everything around. What he did was during 2 years, he told the bishops to listen to their people. 1.4 billion Catholics all over this planet were asked to give their opinion and to share their dreams, their wishes for the church that they belong to. And what is happening now, so today opened the third phase of this synod, which is the Synod of Bishops. And the bishops were obliged to listen first to what the people, to their own people, to what they had to say. Well, during a very difficult and complex process, this became a work document. So in the Instrumentum Laboris, everything that is important is in Latin, of course, in the Catholic Church, in the Vatican. So this Instrumentum Laboris is what it contains what the normal people in all these countries all over the world said about what they dream of for the church. So this is the first thing, first historical thing. It goes bottom up and it doesn't go top down anymore. The second important thing is that the Synod of Bishops is not only with bishops. For the first time, 70 lay people, or 70 non-bishops, I have to say, are part of this synod, and 54 of them are women. So for the first time in history, women have vote in the Synod of Bishops. So yes, this is clearly historical, and we don't know yet what's coming out, but these are very huge steps.
Yeah, indeed. For the first time, women being given a real say in affairs of the church. This more inclusive, less dictatorial church, if you like, that's all very well, but how's that going to go down in conservative circles? Surely there's going to be some resistance, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there is resistance. So there is resistance at one side, at what we could call the conservative side. People around Cardinal Burke, for example, from the United States, or Cardinal Sarah, who's from Africa. Many Catholics in these areas of the church, they think that the church is losing its old soul, where, I quote, shepherds and sheep are mixed up, and we don't know the difference between shepherds and sheep anymore. But at the other side, you have also Catholics that are more progressive and that think that the Synod of Bishops and all the reversals of this Pope and all the changes that he proposes are not going far enough. They would like the Synod to make real courageous decisions, like ordaining women and changing the sexual morals of the Catholic Church. And this is clearly not going to happen now. What we are doing now is helping the church. This is what the Pope wants: helping the church to be governed in a different style, in a different way, where normal Catholics also have their say, and that they are more included inside the Catholic Church and the decision making, and maybe even the decision taking.
Is there a risk that the Pope could embolden the more conservative elements in the Catholic Church and more conservative followers of the Catholic Church if he doesn't go gradually? It has to, I think even he's aware, which is why he's not doing everything all at once, that this has got to be a gradual journey. Do you think that's part of his strategy?
So he has a very clear strategy of doing things step by step. This is a Pope that thinks from the beginning of his pontificate 10 years ago, a bit more than 10 years ago now, that thinks in processes. So he goes very slowly, he goes steps by step, he doesn't rush, and he thinks that these kind of processes need time. Because he knows that this is not only a decision or one or two decisions to take. This is something that has to do with changing a culture in a church that is worldwide. There is no other institution on this planet that is that big as the Catholic Church. It's worldwide. It's 1.4 billion people, as I said, and with all different kind of cultures. And it's true also that what in Western countries is seen as normal today is not at all seen as normal as in several African countries or in several Asian countries or in Latin America. So he has to deal with conservatives and progressives, if you want, but also with different cultural differences. That's very difficult. So he goes step by step, and he wants all these people to be in contact with each other, to listen to each other. So this is the synod of listening to each other, where we can hear, where Catholics from all kind of sides, with all kind of opinions and preferences, are obliged to listen to each other and to try to understand what the Holy Spirit has to say in this whole process.
Pope Francis is 86. Even he must be thinking about what will happen to the Catholic Church after his departure, if you will. Do you think the next Pope will carry on in the same direction? Do you think that if perhaps Pope Francis pushes too hard and the Conservatives sound the alarm too loudly, his replacement will end up taking things back in the opposite direction?
So if you look at the College of Cardinals, these are the cardinals, the more than 130 cardinals that are today allowed to choose a next pope if the conclave would be today. More than 72% of these cardinals have been created cardinal by Pope Francis, chosen and created cardinal by Pope Francis. That means that a big majority of these cardinals are not necessarily all progressive or on his side, but are looking at this pontificate as something that is good and that has to be continued. And of course, the next pope will put new accents, will do it in another way. But I think what is going on is not reversible anymore. Maybe to give a little example, I spoke to a French bishop several years ago. He was just ordained a bishop. He went to the Vatican for 3 weeks to learn how to be a bishop. He told me, what they tell me there, what you tell you there as a bishop, as a new bishop, is that you have to decide. You decide. It's you that decides. If bishops come to the Vatican now, they talk about synodality. And what does the synodality mean? You are the bishop and you are going to listen. You listen to your people. You listen to what they need and what they want. This is a whole shift in the Catholic culture, and this is very meaningful.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Hendro Munsterman, a journalist and theologian, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to France 24.